coding lesson in our course Action Game Coding Essentials. If you've not used Scratch before, we're going to go nice and slowly and explain every interface feature as we go. If you've used it before, you'll have no problems in following what I'm going to say and do. I've opened up Scratch Desktop 3. Slightly confusing, Scratch Desktop and Scratch App seem to be the same, and there's also the online version, so if you have made a Scratch account at the Scratch website, you can use the editor there. That is also, of course, Scratch 3, Scratch version 3. Now, if you already have Scratch open and you're working on another game, you will need to save that. So just come up here to File, Save to your computer, or if you're not going to save it, you can just click New. Or if you just opened the app for the first time, you'll be presented with a new game anyway. So let's get straight into it, and let's start coding, and we're going to begin by coding the stage. So click on the stage over here, you'll see it highlights in blue, and then over here we have 3 tabs. Code, the backdrops, which is the appearance of the stage, and of course sounds. Now if you click on the sounds tab, you'll see this one here called pop. We really don't need this, so let's just delete it, and then let's return to code. And we're going to start with the event code blocks, so just click on events here. For those of you who are new to Scratch, all our code blocks can be scrolled through here in this column, but we can jump to them, to the different categories I should say, by clicking on these buttons here. So for the moment we're going to go to events, and we're going to drag out when green flag clicked, and oops, that's just so mad again, and we're going to drag out to when space key pressed code blocks, and we're going to begin by changing this space key per code block to when B key pressed, and this one to when E, here we go, when E key pressed, like so. So we have these 3 code blocks to start. Now normally somebody will begin a Scratch game or start the Scratch game by clicking on the green flag here. If you upload your game into your Scratch account and you share it, people will expect the game to begin when you click on the green flag. That's absolutely fine. But when we are coding the game, it's quite inconvenient to be constantly moving your mouse up here, clicking on these icons. We want to do it a little bit quicker, and the way that we do it is by pressing the B key to begin and the E key whenever we want to end our game and continue coding. Now of course, if somebody presses the green flag, we want the game to begin, but we also want it to begin with the B key, and the easiest way for us to do that is to broadcast a message. So sticking with the event code blocks, we're going to take broadcast message 1, and we're going to clip it onto the green flag clicked code block, and we're going to select here a new message, which will be, now in this case we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to put how to play, and we'll click OK. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make an instruction screen. So a screen with some written instructions on how to play the game. Simple as that. And if we right click here, we can duplicate this broadcast and put it onto the B key pressed code block. Now you'll see that whether the green flag is clicked or the B key is pressed on the keyboard, this broadcast will be sent. By the way, if you want to clean up the blocks, if they're a bit disorganized like this, all you need to do is to click anywhere in this white area and select Clean Up Blocks. And Scratch has a way of scrolling them out of view sometimes, but they will be nicely aligned like this. Simple as that. Also, I just want to say that I think what we'll do here is we will create some basic code and then save this game as a template. A template is a file that you can load whenever you want to build a new game, and it'll contain some code that you always use. Now at the Pixel Gang, we always use this kind of code on our stage, We put it on the stage so we know where it is. You can put it on any sprite actually, but if it's on the stage, you'll always know where it is, and different games have different sprites, of course. Right, now we've got 2 code blocks here for beginning the game. Down here we've got E, and this will be to end the game, so we're going to click on our control code blocks. And down here we have stop all, and we'll snap that one on like that. So there we go, we have 3 code blocks. I should call these algorithms very small algorithms, but a bunch of code blocks put together is an algorithm. Hardly an algorithm, but we'll call them that anyway. So 3 of them there. Now, like I said, we want to actually, when the green flag is clicked or the B key is pressed, we actually want to show an instruction screen. And the way we're going to do this is if we go back to events, we're going to put down here, when I receive, and we've got message 1, we're going to switch this to, when I receive how to play, we are going to switch, we'll go up to here to looks, we're going to switch to a backdrop. Now at the moment, we haven't made our backdrops, so that's the next thing we want to do. Oh, just one other thing I just want to say briefly, is that at the Pixel Gang, we use B for begin and E for end, rather than S for start, because that can be confused with S for stop. So B for begin and E for end. And normally we would broadcast begin game. In this case, because we're going to have a screen of instructions, we're going to broadcast how to play first. So let's go ahead and make a backdrop for our stage that has the instructions on it. Come up here and click on backdrops, and you will see you have 1 empty backdrop. We are in vector mode here. We don't want to convert to bitmap. We're going to try and stay in vector mode most of the time through this course. It's by far the better mode to use, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. So let's begin right now, and we're going to select the rectangle tool here. We want to basically draw a rectangle that covers our complete stage, but we don't want it in white. So if we come up here to our fill color, by the way, if you've got an outline color on here, like it could be anything, just click down here to disable it, and you'll see that this palette doesn't go away, so we're going to click here to get rid of it. Let's go to our fill color, and what we want here is we just want black, so we're going to slide our brightness slider right down to 0. Once again, I'm going to click here to hide it. We've got our rectangle tool, and all we need to do is to click here and drag round. As simple as that. You'll notice that this is selected. It's got this blue border on it, and of course we can resize just by dragging any of these handles. These little dots are called handles. Can you see that up there? We can make it thinner. We don't really want to do that at the moment. Down here we can rotate it, like so. We don't want to do that either. For me to rotate that back, it's going to be hard for me to get it precisely back to where it was, but fortunately we have an undo button here. So let's click our undo button. Okay, now I don't want this selected at the moment because that is fine as it is. So I am simply going to go and click here, the deselected. Then I'm going to select the text tool. We're going to type some text onto here, but at the moment you'll see that the color is black. We don't want black, so we're going to click here again, and we're going to put brightness on 100 and saturation on 0, and that will give us white. I'm going to click down here, and we are ready to type some text in. I have the text tool selected, and I'm simply going to type here how to play. I'm going to do a return. I'm going to put in here, let's see, what shall we have? Use the mouse pointer to move the cat. So we can have a series of instructions here for the player. I don't know exactly what we're going to do. here, but let's just put some X's. We'll come back and fill this in later. Perhaps we could put here, press the E key to end your game. And shall we put press the B key to restart? And at the bottom here, we're going to put click anywhere to begin your game. Okay, now I'm going to go and select the selection tool here, or click on the selection tool. And now you can see that my text is selected. And I can move it a little bit. It's a little bit high. I'll move it over here. And that looks fine, actually. We can, of course, enlarge it, but we don't need to. So I'm going to click over here. And that looks good to me. That is our first backdrop. It's called Backdrop 1. We're going to rename it How to Play. And don't forget to press your Enter key when you type something in. Oops. Let's go back and fix that. Use my arrow key. Here we go. How to play. So there is our first backdrop. Now, the more observant of you will have noticed that I've made a mistake here, a spelling mistake. I've got press the E ket to end your game, which of course is incorrect. So I'm going to select my text here with my selection tool. I'm going to take my text tool and I'm going to click down here. We can't see the cursor because of the black background. And I'm done too. What have I got here? Let's just fix this. Press the E key to end your game. And then I'm just going to go back and click on my selection tool. And that is fixed. I'm going to show you one more thing here. If you get things very wrong and you want to delete part of your image, you can simply click on it and press your backspace to delete it. I'm going to undo that because I clearly don't want to delete that. The other thing that I can do, let me click on this box behind here. You can decide which element is behind which other element, and if I put this onto front, of course my black box comes to the front and I can't see my text. So let me send it to the back again where it should be, and that's all fine. So we've got our first backdrop. I'm going to go back to code here, and you will see that Scratch has very usefully selected switch to backdrop, how to play. Okay, that's great. Now we have on our backdrop here, click anywhere to begin your game. So we need to have some code on our stage to facilitate that, and we're going to do this. When I go to events, we're going to put on here, when I receive how to play, we're going to put a forever
on here. Oh, by the way, we could just put this under here. This would be fine. I'm just going to do this separately so we don't get confused. And we're going to put an if from the control code blocks into here. Now what we want to happen is that when the player clicks anywhere on the stage, we're going to begin our game. And the way we do this, it's quite simply, we say if, go to sensing, and we put mouse down. That means the mouse button has been clicked, like so. Now, when the player clicks the button on their mouse, which is our mouse down, we want the game to begin. So we're going to go back to events, and we are going to broadcast a new broadcast, which is going to be, quite simply, begin game, like so. Now this broadcast is going to begin our game by switching to a new backdrop and turning on all of the other sprites in our game. That is, turning their code on so they start to do whatever they're going to do. Now we can do one of two things here. We can easily, and this is perhaps a good idea, we can easily just put in here, doesn't matter really whether we put it before or after this broadcast, switch to backdrop, and we need a backdrop, which is going to be the backdrop for the gameplay. We haven't made one yet, so let's go and do that now. Let's go back to backdrops over here. there's our how to play backdrop. We're going to paint a new backdrop, so down to the bottom of the screen here, click on the paintbrush. That will create a new backdrop. And once again, we're going to select our rectangle tool and drag out a rectangle to cover the stage. This time, we're going to go up to fill and we're going to select a gradient. So we're going to click on this one here. This is the solid color and this is our vertical gradient. Now the way it works in Scratch is you can have two colors and they blend into one another. You can see them blending here, and that's because the two colors we've got are black and white. Not very interesting, so I am going to click first on this color here. I'm going to take my brightness up and I'm going to use well, it doesn't really matter, you can choose whatever you like. I'm going to choose this purple here. I don't want it to go into white in the bottom, so I'm going to come over here, turn my saturation up, and I think I'll make it blend like this. That's nice. Of course, we can come back at any time and easily change this. Mess around, it doesn't matter what colours you use. Perhaps avoid using the orange of the cat so the cat stands out nicely. And then, having done this, I'm simply going to go up to the costume name. I'm not really sure why backdrops are called costumes. And we're going to call this one Play. Press enter there. We now have two backdrops, How to Play and Play. And I'm going to switch back to my code block here, and I'm going to switch this code block here to Play. So now it says, if mouse down, then switch backdrop to play and broadcast begin game. And let's just test this to see if our code actually works. So I'm going to press, you will remember, I'm going to press B to begin. It switches to our how to play backdrop, and then I'm going to click, and we get that broadcast play. Now, there is one final code block we need to add to this algorithm, because once it has done its job, we need it to turn off. So I'm going to press E to end my game. And then I'm going to go to Control, and I'm going to get the Stop All code block, and I'm going to put it here underneath Broadcast Begin Game. Now, of course, we don't want the whole game to stop. We only want this particular code algorithm to stop, and we can do that by selecting Stop This Script. Now if I go back, I'm going to press B to begin. You can see it has turned on. If I click on the stage to begin my game, the game begins, but this algorithm turns off. Now that's exactly what we want to happen. I'm going to pause now to let you complete this code algorithm. Now before we move on, I just want to show you a couple of features of the code area. And the first thing is, if we come down here to the bottom of the screen, you will see there is a zoom in and a zoom out button. And these are really helpful, so we can make the code bigger here, but we can also decrease its size if we want to see all our code. And another great feature is that if you drag in this area here, it will drag all of your code blocks. Let's try that again. Like so. We've already learned, I think, that by right-clicking and clicking Clean Up Blocks, it puts our code blocks back into a nice organised order. Like so. So that's extremely useful to know. And I think that's all we need to say about organising our code in the code area. So let's move on to our next task. Now you will notice that if we just restart the game, so I'm going to press B on my keyboard, our instruction screen comes up, and then if I click, the game begins. Let me do that once more. I'm going to press E, and you will notice, of course, when I press B, that the cat is on our instruction screen. Now, it would be much better if the cat was hidden for the instruction screen, the how to play screen, and then appeared as soon as we click to begin the game. So I'm going to press E, and let's do that now. We will select the cat sprite under the stage, down here, and we will go back to our events, and we will add on a when I receive begin game. Let's zoom in here. And on this one, all we need to do is to go to our looks code blocks. And we're going to put in here, let's come down to the bottom here, near the bottom one. We're going to put in here a hide. Oh, let me correct this. Of course, we want the cat to hide when we receive how to play. The next code block we need is, of course, when I receive begin game. And that, again, going back to the looks code blocks. and that is simply a show. We'll right-click to tidy up. Scratch does this funny thing of when you clean up the blocks, it often scrolls them down the code area, but never mind. Now we'll try this again. I'm going to press B to begin. The cat has disappeared, and then we click again, and the cat appears and the game begins. Let's pause once again to allow you to complete these code blocks. We've almost finished this first video lesson, but before we go, we're going to complete one final task. If you select the stage once again, and then switch to the Backdrops tab, we have our two backdrops we've already created, How to Play and the Play backdrop. I want you to right-click with your mouse pointer on the second one and duplicate it. We'll now have three backdrops, and this one we are going to call Game Over. Now this backdrop is going to show when the game finishes. And all we need to do for this backdrop is to take our text tool here, and we're going to click, I think, somewhere over here, and we're going to type Game Over, like so. We can select the selection tool if you like, because once we've selected that tool, we can drag this. Zoom out again, gone a bit too far there. Have that nice and big in the middle of the stage area, or the backdrop area. I'm going to position that there. I think I'm going to see if it can just change this colour here. I'm going to move my saturation up here. Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, my brightness on maximum. And I'm going to make this. Yes, I quite like that. That's just a sort of orangey yellow colour. Let's click down here. There's my backdrop. I have my selection tool here, so I can just click to deselect and click again to reselect. If you get this wrong, you can actually double click here to automatically go to the text tool. I'm going to deselect here, this is fine. I'm going to go back to my code. And we're going to put one final bit of code onto here. And over to events, get a when I receive begin game. Code block. New message. And our new message is going to be Game Over. Now we'll click OK. And when this message is received, now just bear in mind that we've not yet made a sprite or an algorithm that will send this game over message. So it may be that the cat runs out of lives. When its lives reach 0, game over is broadcast. Who knows what kind of game we're going to make. But when we do receive that broadcast, we want to go to looks here. We're going to switch to backdrop, game over, and then the final code block, we're going to stop all. So let's pause once again here to let you complete this third backdrop and this code algorithm. Okay, it's time for us to save our file. So we're going to go up to File, Save to your computer. I'm going to click there. I've prepared a folder which is simply called Scratch Games, and up here at the top of the window, if you're using a PC, of course your save as may be down at the bottom of this window, but we've got this extension here, .sb3, and we need to keep that. That's important, so don't delete that. But here we've just got our Scratch project and we need to change the name, and I'm going to call this Action Game Template V1 version 1. You don't have to call it this is just a suggestion. Template means that this is a file that can be used to create games. It's already got the code and the backdrop we've made. And all we're going to do here is to save it. And that concludes the first video lesson of this course. We hope you enjoyed it. In the next video lesson, we're going to turn to the cat and start to code its movements and its properties.